Hi guys, I hope you can hear me clearly. Sorry for that glitch. It was my internet problem, the everyday excuse. So let us proceed with the business. We're saying that this XSS attack is what it attacks most is that attackers will try to make your website display what you really didn't intend it to do, to display. So this one is not about the database, not about the functionality of the mobile of your web application, but the function. The main motive here is to change the display or to change the things that your users are supposed to see, and maybe display for them a different thing. So that is what I mean by cross-site scripting. It's just all about the display or what the users should see. So causes of, for example, a cross-site scripting vulnerability may be used by attackers to bypass access controls such as same-source origin. The attackers can use your website, for example, for example, you have set your things to display from a certain server, but the attackers make your site to display things from a different server. For example, you may be browsing google.com or a certain link, let us say google.com, and what a user will be seeing is seeing maybe youtube.com. That is just according to popular domains that are there. But according to maybe the application that you have created, a person may be browsing a certain application that you intended to function at a certain or to your users. But what the users will be seeing, they'll be seeing application from what? From another domain or another server. So that's what we call the violation of what? Of same origin policy. So causes of increase in XSS attack is increase in number of web-based applications. So as we said that this XSS attack, they are they are based on web application. And you remember in the first section why we say that web application are the most vulnerable. The reason is the scripts are executed or during the runtime, not when the application is built. But when you create a mobile application, the scripts are compiled into executable file or into an APK, so that those compiled scripts cannot be rechanged again because that application is installed. But web application, its weakness is the scripts are executed during runtime. When someone is viewing the website, it's when those scripts are executed at that particular time. So that is the weakness that can also lead to to the increase in cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting. So the rush to get the web application written and deployed. So that is also as related to the increase of XSS attack, because web users, they don't even accomplish the whole application, since they know they can change the application while when it is in the runtime. So they do most of web developers, they create application and then they deploy it, and then along the way they keep on improving it. So during that deploy stage, it leads to XSS attack increase. So introduction to asynchronous access of data, what we call AJAX. So when some web application, they come across, they face this problem when they are doing what we call AJAX. I believe most of people here know what they understand what is meant by AJAX. Being able to load the information from another server, from the server without refreshing the whole page. That's what we call asynchronous access of information. So attackers, they may have ability to change the source where the user is going to display. The user is going to fetch the information and then they send back a different information. So I may be assumed that I'm going to view a certain website, but that certain website, if it supports Ajax, so the source of that information, I can come through the back doors of that web application, and I use the XSS Attack tricks to display or to send back the information from the URL that you went to fetch the information from, or what you call the Ajax. So that has also, the introduction of Ajax has also led to do what? To the increase of XSS attacks. But before Ajax, the website could load only what was put on the server. So the risks were less. But right now, since we support Ajax, it means that you can load what you want to see on the web page, but during that multiple fetching of data in the background, without user knowing what you call Ajax, it may lead to what? To increase in what? On XSS attacks, because you'll be seeing things that you did not originally load, or that you not originally put on your what? On your screen. So hardening of OS security by independent software vendors has also led to what? To the increase of what? Of XSS attack. So here are the languages that are affected by the XSS attacks. So any languages used to build a web application can be affected by what? By the XSS attacks. So things like HTML, XML, they can be used to do what? They can be affected what? The XSS attack. So such as Python, even PHP can also lead to what? To XSS attacks, and also C++ and active server pages, what we call ASP or VB.NET, and as well as ASP. So almost every programming language that can be used to create a web application can be faced, is also vulnerable to what? To XSS attacks, as long as it is a web application language. So all these are languages that we can use to do what? To create a web application. So in a simple way, as long as you know the a language can be used to create a web application, just know it is vulnerable to XSS attack. Just like we said in what? In SQL injection. Any language that can interface with the database is vulnerable to XSS attack. So types of cross-site scripting. So they are classified mainly into two, and these are the two main categories of what? Of XSS attacks. So the first category is called non-persistent attack, or what we call the reflected attack, and the other one is called the persistent attack, or what we call the stored attack. So that's how we mainly categorize these cross-site scripting attacks. Okay, so others may include DOM-based XSS and then HTTP, response splitting, and cross-site request forgery. So non-persistent cross-site scripting refers to the scripting of the cross-site scripting vulnerability is by far the most basic type of vulnerability, because this will not be stored, it will be just displaying during the execution time. It will not be stored, okay, what we call reflected. So those holes show up when the data is provided by the web client, or most what we call HTTP. So if you have ever browsed a website and they tell you it's not secure, most of the time it is having the HTTP way of accessing the information. So it means that website will be vulnerable to what? To cross-site scripting. A hacker or someone who is having malicious intentions can use that loophole of HTTP to display to you things that you are not meant to see, yet the developer or the original source of the application is designed to show you different things. So HTML form submission is used immediately by the server scripting to pass and display a page of results for a page of results and that user without properly sanitizing the content. So one of the way how this non-persistent XSS attacks is done is through the HTML submission of information. So if your web application is depending on information from the HTML form and you did not clean that HTML information, I mean the form that the data that came from the HTML form, it means that your site may end up showing things that you do not really want your user to see, but the attacker intended the user to see them. For example, if you a programmer, or if you deal with web application development, you know what is meant by get. So information that comes from the get can be decoded even from what? From the URL. So if someone has a URL, you can hardcode the URL and pass the information through the get. At the end of the day, the website ends up showing what it's not meant to show. Okay. So because HTML documents have flat serial structure that mixes control statements, formatting, and the content, and the non-validated user supplied data, included the result page without proper HTML encoding, may lead to what? To markup injection. So if you get the information from what? From let's say the get, and then you did not from the get method or from the URL, and then you display it without cleaning it properly, someone can even as well pass a JavaScript code from the from URL, and then he ends up seeing, I mean the user ends up seeing what they are not really meant to see. For example, let me show you if you're not understanding what I'm saying. For example, let me show you. Like the link that was sent, I don't have it here. Okay, look at the link that was sent to us that invites us to this code. You'll see that in that link it is too long, and even there are some things that you may not be understanding. So among the things that you don't understand is the link. That link, its task is just to help for example, the Zoom as a company to know which enterprise does this link belong. Do we have right access? Is the code that we submitted through that link is correct, or that whether is correct? So they end up creating a link that is really long and is having some information that's going to be passed to. So if a hacker falls on that link, if you create such a link in your web application and you don't clean that information, it means that the hacker can even write JavaScript and pass it through that link. So when someone clicks on that link, that JavaScript will go and be executed on the page of that person in their browsing that link, I mean that information. Let me show you what I'm meaning. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and I show you what I mean. I want to show you this link. Okay, so this is what I was meaning. Can you see? This is the link that they use to invite us. Okay, so if you're just a basic user and you don't know what is much about programming, you may not even care about what it has been attached to this link. You see, But if you're a real programmer who do web, you will realize that there is a gate that has been passed to what, to this link, which is everything that comes after the question mark. You know, that thing is going to help the developer or the user to do what, to understand what you're supposed to look in the meeting. Likewise, to long links like those links of Drive, Google Drive, and the rest, Facebook, even Facebook links. You see that there is a lot of information that is being passed through through the gate. So if you're not careful, the attacker can use this remaining information to display something that has not meant to display in your web page. For example, assume that this is a user, this is my application link, and I've shared it, and maybe I will use the information that will come here from the gate into the application. For example, here you can see Zoom will use this string to do what, though it is encoded, so they know the HTTP, they know the attack that can result in it, so they encode it. So, but if you're an amateur and you're not aware of a cross-site scripting attacks, so you'll have to allow the user to enter here, maybe to receive information from the gate. But if you forget that information through the gate can be changed. So for me, instead of sharing the link as it is, if I'm an attacker, I can as well share a script like this. Can you see? So can you see a script like this one? Okay, so I can come and maybe say alert. See? Hello. I can even okay, so I can write here something. Let's get it. So can you see? This is just a link that you created without dangerous intention, but the attacker has ability to write the JavaScript into that link. So if this JavaScript can be executed successfully, and you know how powerful JavaScript is, it means that attacker can share the link for a web application, and it can do really many things with your web application. It can totally show different things with your web application that you don't even intend to do to show on your website. So that ability to code, to add this piece of code like JavaScript and the rest codes into the link or into the gate, and then this link is successfully executed, is what we call cross-site scripting. So if you're not aware of this, it means that you don't know. Then it means that an attacker can write even a very long script and attach it on your link and then share it. So when people will click on that link, yes, they'll be browsing the content on your website, but what the users will be seeing, what the users will be doing, it will be totally done by the by the attacker. So always be careful with that, and you can see how you can mitigate that. Remaining 50 minutes. So that is the cross-site scripting. So we proceed with the non-persistent. By the way, this was called non-persistent also because it is not saved. It does not work on the logic of persistent. It is not saved totally. So this classic input trust issue, trust issue, is a classic input trust issue. So when you don't trust the users, like here, you know this is an input, it will result to what? To a cross-site scripting. So the web application is expecting some text, let us say username or query string, but the bad guy provides something else, like I've shown you. Okay, yeah, they were expecting a password, but what I've done, I've provided my script of JavaScript. So if you carelessly handle what I've just sent to you, then I'll be able to mess up with with the application. Okay, an attacker code a fragment written in a script language like JavaScript in the query string and has the victim clicking. So this is a query string, okay, and then I've written my JavaScript. In fact, I've already explained this. Okay, so this is how it happens. Now I can demonstrate it, so be very careful with this diagram. It can come, you never know. So this is how it happens. It will come as a link, as it is. You see here, this is my link, but can you see there's some script that I have attached here? Okay, then that is the server that you're going to have, and then when an attacker will record a link and attach it, I mean will hard code the link that like they will have shown you here. I've hard coded something and write my script on a link and then share it, and then that link will do what? It means that this link will have to go to the Zoom server. You see, I can click on this link, I can go to it. It means that, but this link will have gone to Zoom server with a what? With a bug or with a script. So if these guys, they are not smart and not aware of cross-site scripting, means that I can start doing things that I want using their very domain. So you see here, the link is coming to the what? To the server with a what? With a bug. And then that server will execute. If you execute it carelessly, that server will, of course, will also bring back with that malicious bug, and then the user will end up seeing things that you did not really intend for the user to see. So don't confuse the two again. I hope you're getting the concept. SQL injection is about SQL and databases. Cross-site scripting is about what we show to the what? To the user. So that is a simple elaboration or demonstration of how the cross-site scripting happens. So this is how we can implement it in what? In PHP. How we can demonstrate it. So because of time I will not be able to, but in your free time, or if you after this class, you can go ahead and do this. So you create an index. I don't know what's wrong. I did nothing downloading. Maybe the balance. Okay, it's what? Password.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Kirabo, what do you think about it? How is the lecture so far? Home is back.
So?
Kirabo?
So?
The lecture is great.
Okay.
Sorry about that internet problem. Hope you can see my screen. So I was saying,
see, sir. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. So what you'll do, you can create a PHP file, and then you try to get something from the get. You must be understand what's meant by the get, the information that comes through the what? Through the query string or through the link. So try to get something like a name through the get, and then display that name or whatever has come through the get to your website like this. So, and then you click on what? On a link, or share that link with a script, or attach there some script as you can see here. Then when you execute this script, you'll be able to see that a JavaScript that was sent to the link like the way I've shown here is what has been executed successfully, just like the way we've demonstrated here in the what? In this diagram. So it means that every information that comes from the server, don't just display it straight to the what? To the user, like the way we did, like you said. I mean, every information that comes from the user, don't just display it straight to that, to the user. Just like the way we said, every information that comes from the user, don't just execute it straight to your database. So now the attacker will craft the URL as follows. So after you've written your code like this one, So it means that everything that comes from the gate, you just display it straight to the what? To your screen, or to the screen of the user. So now the attacker will craft or will edit the link and then do something like this, just like the way I showed you. Okay, so at the end of the day, you will be able to see that the screen has done what? Has shown a different thing that you did not really intend to do. Okay, so if you do that code that I've shown in that file, and then you pass a script like this one, you'll be able to see that that script has executed to your server, even though it did not intend it to do what? To execute. And then being able to display things that you did not intend to execute to the user is what we call cross-site scripting. So for example, the attacker now can click on that download link, and then they can be able to see that the system has done what? Has executed the link that did not intended to execute. I'm going so fast because I've already explained these things. I've already explained them through this practical. So this one is just an explanation of what I've just explained. So so the second way of how we can do this is through coding information into what we call hexadecimal coding. So the attacker can as well write the information in hexadecimal base. So in that way, it means that when they I'm not clear. Am I clear? Okay, so in this way it means that when these hexadecimal pieces of code will reach at your your server, the server will have to interpret them in different way, and at the end of the day you'll end up getting what? An XSS attack. But all this is what? Is non-persistent because it is not saved. So here are the testing issues in XSS attack. So how can you test your application if it's free from XSS attack? So make a request against your web application and set all parameters. Okay, then look at HTML response. Don't look at the visual presentation, but you have to look at the what? As HTML response. So how do you look at HTML response of your project? For example, this is my project. So this is just a visual presentation of what? Of my project. It looks nice, but you may not be knowing what is in the background. So after maybe setting the username and password, so when you're testing it, don't look at how it has appeared here. What you have to look at, just come here and then come and view page source here. So what comes here is what really is going to be executed. So when you're testing your application, if it's free from XSS attack, always consider to look at the what? At the source code, not at the what has appeared on the screen, but look at what is really in the what? In the source of the web. So look at the raw HTML as we said, so and see if what you intended to see is what is really there. If it does, you may have XSS attack issues. So if what you're seeing here is not what you're supposed to, what you did not expect, then means that your application is having issues of XSS attack. So when you're testing application, if it's free from XSS attack, don't look at the what? At the interface. Look at the source code or the HTML raw code. Look at that. So there's also another application that we can use to test the XSS attacks. So there are some other systems that are on internet. For example, one is called Nessus, another one is called Nikto. These softwares, they can help. Another one is called SOAP UI. These softwares, they can help us to test if our website are independent from what? From XSS attack. So what you do, you just go and purchase the subscribe from those applications, and then you put there the link of your website, and then those softwares can scan. They're just like antiviruses. They can scan and give the result whether your website is vulnerable to XSS attack or not. So persistent attack is what we call the stored attack. So as you say that they are categorized into non-persistent and persistent. So this persistent attack, it means that we can also call it stored attack. It means that the persistent or XSS vulnerability is more disadvantaging. This is more devastating variant of what? Of XSS. Okay, this one, it means that the data, the cross XSS effect will be stored in your in your server, and even different users who did not click on the particular link will be able to access it. So it occurs when the data provided by the attacker is saved on the server. You see, that's the whole problem. It occurs when the data that was provided by the attacker is saved on the on the server. The other one was just display, not saved. But this one, the attacker has found his way to save his malicious code to to a server. So pages returned to the user in the course of regular browsing without proper HTML without proper HTML escaping. So the damage caused by the persistent attack is more than that of of non-persistent attack. For example, in this example, we'll see how the users can hijack the sessions by performing XSS. See? So since this one is all about what the user will see, it can even give the ability for the attack. It can even give the ability to the attacker to hijack the sessions. For example, you've logged in as a bank manager. As a bank user, just a normal customer, but the attacker can hijack the session that was done by maybe bank manager, and then he uses it by himself. Okay, so imagine that if he's a person is just a bank user, but he's able to log in as a bank manager. So what does it mean? It means that he can really do a lot of things. So with persistent attack, someone has that ability to even hijack sessions or the login sessions. So as we know, HTTP protocol is stateless. Stateless means that every time we refresh, it acts like it has forgotten our visit. If you go to maybe google.com for the very first time, even when you go there for the second time, maybe when you refresh, when Google receives your information or whatever, or if it's your own server, when you receive this information, you will not even know that this user is the one who has just come back, unless you use extra things like cookies and sessions. So HTTP that's what is meant by stateless. So HTTP connections, they are stateless, which means it won't maintain the state with regard of the request and the response. So if you come for the very first time and you try to refresh the second time, HTML will not know that you're the same person. HTTP will not know that this is the same person who has just loaded, unless we use things like cookies and the rest. So all requests and response are independent of each other, but the most web application don't need this. Okay, so most of web application, they may not need to identify the user that they're independent every time. So once the user has authenticated himself, the web server should not ask the user the username and the password. So if I log into a certain web app website, of course they are not again supposed to ask me what's my username and password. For example, if I go to Facebook and I log in once, I'm not supposed to be asked again my username and my password next time I refresh. Okay, so but that's how it's supposed to be. But by the power of cookies and headers and sessions, we are able to identify that, hey, this is the same person who was just refreshed. Okay, so since it's stateless, then it means that I will have to use things like sessions to be able to maintain the state of a certain user. So when the user log in with the first time, a session ID will be created, what you call, and then we send it to the browser as a what, as a cookie. So that's how it happens in the logic of logging in someone. We send the cookie to the web browser, so that when they try to log it, when they try to refresh, they send us back that cookie, and then we can identify them that these are the particular users. Okay, so what we call the session ID. So the time is up. Let me look at the time, the slide that we're remaining with. 10 slides. I think you'll give me more 5 minutes and we finish. Okay, 5 minutes guys, as we finish. More 5. Just 5 minutes. You go for 5. Okay, so for the guys, you can put your names in the chat if you're still around. Put your name and your registration number in the chat, please, just for the sake of knowing who was here till now. Put your name and your registration number in the chat. Okay, please do that now. That's your attendance. Your name and registration number in the chat. Okay, do that. Okay, so assume there are 2 types of users. So let us assume that there are 2 types of users, a normal user and maybe an administrator. So when the login user can see the list of usernames and the normal user, and then they cannot update, they can only update their names. So this is what will happen. I will be able to access the username and password, and then we are sending this information from through the post. So the person can instead hard code this into the URL, and then submit it to the server through the HTTP, through the vulnerability that we demonstrated of the HTTP attack, of cross-site scripting attack. So the home page. So here the person will be able to access the information that here the person will be able to access the information from the server as if he's the administrator. Yes, he's really not the administrator, by just being able to access the administrator's token, or what you call the administrator's cookie, or the ID of the administrator. So by doing that, that person can go ahead and do it. And someone who has put on the video, you can hide the video. Okay. So by doing like that, someone can disguise as the administrator of a system, yet they are not really they are not really administrators, by that power of using the cookies or the ID. So until the ID is expired, or until someone logs out, then they can be able to do to tell that these people were not really XSS attackers. So for this part of practicals, I'm going to record the independent video, separate video, like a 30 minutes video that I'm going to demonstrate how this XSS attack can be used to attack your your web application. So how can we restrict this XSS attack? And I will share that video with Dr. Drake and the Dr. Drake, which will send you the link of that video. So how can we get rid of this XSS attack? That video will be based on practicals, not theory. It will be based on practicals that demonstrates how this cross-site scripting works. So how can we get rid of this? We can restrict the input, we can encode the output, we can also escape the dangerous tags. For example, you see here, this is a dangerous tag. So before you execute it, you have to make sure that this script is not going to execute in your server until it is allowed. So dangerous attacks like these ones, don't allow them to come through the gate. So summary, always check the inputs of the users. Don't trust the users' inputs. You should encode the origin from the server input, originating from the server input, like the way you see Zoom. So you see Zoom, let me come back to our link. You see, this is encoded. So there might be having a lot of information that is passed here, but it is encoded, so you may not tell. So always also encode your encode your task, your IDs. I'm seeing 45 in the chat, but I'm seeing 48 present. Maybe it's me and Drake. No problem. Otherwise, if you're here, if you not put your ID and your registration number in the chat and the name, you should do it now before we end the class. So do mark the cookies as HTTP only, and then add timestamps and timeouts on the sessions. Okay, so if you log in someone, you better put the limit. Do regular tests on your web application. Always test your web application and see if it is free from XSS attacks, and then escape the script input. And the others just straightforward, and I'll share the slides. So thank you for being part of this class up to this point, and that makes our class of today. I'll share the code that I used to demonstrate. I will share the slides and the video, and also the video that will practically demonstrate the cross XSS attack. Okay, thank you. Unless Dr. Drake has something to input before we end the class.
Well, thank you, Muhindo. This has been excellent, expertly delivered.
Thank you, sir.
I know students may be fatigued. I think it's the first time we've done over the 3 hours. But I think it is worth it. Really, it's worth it. So let me hear at least from 2 boys and 2 girls what they think, if they have a comment, a question. If you have no question, then maybe give me